Upon learning that the female CEO wanted to drain my sister's blood to save the green tea male lead, I rushed to the hospital immediately. I kicked open the door. I saw my sister had lost too much blood and was about to pass out. I couldn't help but burn with rage. All the doctors looked towards the door. A boy in black stood there, emitting an even more terrifying aura than Liu Xiao. The director just opened his mouth to speak and was kicked flying by me. The nurse who was drawing blood widened her eyes, instinctively gripping the syringe tighter. The next second, there was a crack from her wrist. Her screams echoed throughout the room. I quickly pulled out the needle and connected fresh blood to my sister's vein. My sister weakly opened her eyes and called out. My hand trembled slightly. I gently patted her little head. 3 relatives at the door stood dumbfounded. They had never seen the boss show such an expression. Suddenly, a dozen bodyguards surrounded the area. Liu Xiao entered with a gloomy face. Seeing the blood flowing back, her expression instantly darkened. Looks like I've been too merciful lately. She coldly ordered the head of the bodyguards to deal with us. The bodyguards had just moved when my 3 subordinates took them down instantly. Liu Xiao narrowed her eyes arrogantly. An annual salary of 10 million. Join me. The 3 of them sneered, playing with their knives. You don't deserve it. Liu Xiao suddenly attacked, but was slashed by Disha. Disha mocked, with just this little skill. And you still want to fight me? Liu Xiao gritted her teeth. Who exactly are you people? Disha tied her hands up. You don't deserve to know how the boss will deal with you. I smiled. Weren't you trying to save your fiancé? Let's find him first. Half a minute later, a man was thrown in like trash. I sized him up. So this is your fiancé? I thought he'd be someone impressive. What a disappointment. Liu Xiao's eyes flashed with wisdom. You're asking for death. I sneered. I just love testing limits. I am Disha. Make her kneel. Liu Xiao was forced to her knees. I threw an empty blood bag at her. You want to save someone, right? Use your own blood. As Disha drew blood, Yanfeng tried to stop her. He was slapped flying away. Liu Xiao watched helplessly as her blood was continuously drained. I instructed Disha. Isn't her fiancé desperate for blood? Saving lives comes first. Transfer her blood to her fiancé. Disha walked towards Yanfeng. Liu Xiao panicked completely. She shouted, You dare. Disha smirked. In this world, other than the boss's orders, there's nothing I don't dare to do. Yanfeng trembled and backed away, terrified. Our blood types don't match. It will kill me. Disha grabbed his arm tightly, making him unable to move. She started the blood transfusion. Liu Xiao's face flushed red. Let him go. If anything happens to him, you all will die. I smiled faintly. Since you put it that way, then you can't leave here alive today. Liu Xiao's heart tightened. If I die, you won't be able to bear the consequences. Is that so? I smiled deeper. I'd like to see who in this world I can't kill. I threw the largest blood bag on the ground. Continue drawing blood until she's completely drained. As the needle pierced in, Yanfeng broke down and screamed, Save me. I don't want to die. At that moment, a powerful woman appeared at the door with a dozen bodyguards. And Liu Xiao cried out in joy. Yanfeng quickly grabbed onto his lifeline and, Save me. They're transfusing Liu Xiao's blood into me. Liu Xian coldly scanned the room. She ordered me, Release him. I asked calmly, And if I say no? Liu Xian's face darkened. She strode forward. When she was about 3 meters from me, a silver needle suddenly shot out, piercing precisely into her chest. I said calmly, I only want the lives of these 2. Leave now, and I won't pursue the matter. But if you scare my sister, the whole Liu family will pay. Murderous intent flashed in Liu Xian's eyes. You are the first to oppose the Liu family in Yunchengport. I curled my lips into a cold smile. Then I'd like to see the consequences. Yanfeng had already lost half his blood. His voice was filled with pain as he called for help. Liu Xian hesitated for a moment, then finally lowered her stance. Let them go. Name your conditions. I shook my head with a light chuckle. Too late. Liu Xian shouted angrily. You refuse the toast, so you'll drink the penalty. I flicked my wrist. 2 silver needles pinned her to kneel on the ground. Then dozens of silver needles shot out at once. All the bodyguards fell to the ground, unable to move. Looking at the collapsed Liu family aunt and niece, Yanfeng suddenly screamed, "It's all Liu Xiao's fault." I tried to persuade her. Liu Xiao stared at him in disbelief, eyes wide open. I looked at him coldly. "Did you hear that? Still think I was wrong to call him scum?" Yanfeng nodded frantically. "Yes, yes, yes. I am scum. Please spare me." He thought I would let him go. Instead, I sneered coldly. "That makes me even less likely to spare you." Yanfeng's face turned deathly pale. He was still struggling desperately. "Killing is against the law. If I die, you'll have to pay for it." My eyes turned cold. "The law? Did you think about the law when you drained my sister's blood?" Suddenly, a stern female voice came from the doorway. What a bold tone. A woman appeared, a female inspector in her 40s, leading her subordinates as they rushed in. Seeing the bodies of the bodyguards lying all over the place, her expression changed. She looked toward Yanfeng. Grabbing onto a lifeline, Yanfeng shouted, "Chief Zhang, he's trying to kill me. Shoot him quickly." Chief Zhang raised his gun and aimed at my head. Liu Ziyan immediately ordered, "Kill him. I'll take responsibility." I smiled calmly. "Zhang Lin, 5 years ago, when I left Yuncheng, you were just a minor officer. Now you've been promoted." Chief Zhang trembled all over, barely holding her gun steady. You've returned." She turned to Liu Ziyan and whispered, "Master Liu, I can't handle this. You better reconcile." Liu Ziyan looked at me seriously. She finally softened her tone. "Let Xiao and Yanfeng go. The Liu family is willing to pay any price." I said coldly, "Destroying your Liu family is just a word for me. Today, they must die." Liu Ziyan gritted her teeth and threatened, "Xiao's mother is the commander of the occupation department. If you dare harm her daughter..." I sneered slightly. Considering her mother's service to the country, I can spare Liu Xiao's life. Just as Liu Ziyan breathed a sigh of relief, I added, "But the punishment remains." There was a crisp crack as to sharp sounds echoed. Liu Xiao's leg snapped on the spot. She let out a piercing scream. Looking at the disgusting Yanfeng, I turned around and left. In 3 days, the Liu family must give me an explanation. Otherwise, I'll pay a personal visit. After Liu Xiao was dragged away, Chief Zhang hesitated and helped Liu Ziyan up. Liu Ziyan said coldly, "Tomorrow at Qingyun Peak, I'll give you an explanation, along with a big gift." I raised my eyebrows. "Fine, but let me be clear. If the gift disappoints me, even if the Liu family has a top leader, I'll still make you pay the price." Liu Ziyan looked at me as if she were looking at a dead man. The doctors and nurses all trembled in fear. Disha asked me, "What should we do?" "Kill them," Disha advised, "Boss. Killing someone so openly would cause too much attention." I picked up my sister. Speaking softly, I said, "Then break their limbs and throw them out." Amidst the screams, I entered the next room. I gently placed my sister on the bed. An operative quickly approached. "Boss, we found the treasure." "Where is it?" "At the Li family home." I smiled. What a coincidence. Even without the treasure, I was planning to visit them. If it weren't for the old lady forcing the owner to marry the neighbor's old woman, I wouldn't have been reborn into this body. I walked out of the ward. "Let's go to the Li family." At the Li family banquet hall, the head of the family ran over excitedly. "Dad, Jiang Tongling is coming to visit." The old master was so shocked he dropped his prayer beads. "Quick, prepare the highest standard banquet and bring out the ivory chair. Call everyone over. Whoever can make Jiang Tongling stay, I'll divide a portion of the family assets." The Li family head nodded repeatedly. The old master was trembling with excitement. Heaven bless the Li family. Soon after, the family head hurried back to report, "Dad, everything is arranged, but the eldest brother isn't home." The old master slammed the armrest. "Didn't I tell him not to go out?" The family head reported, "I heard. His son is being released from prison today. He went to wait at the prison gate before dawn." A vicious gleam flashed in the old master's eyes. "Bring him back. Send men to guard the prison gate. When you see that bastard, bring him back immediately. I'll deal with him myself." Half an hour later, the entire Li family lined up. Outside the gate, Li Xiang asked his mother Tong Qi in a low voice, "Mom, will Jiang Tongling really come?" "Of course. I was there when his relative came to inform us." Tang Qi lowered her voice, "Son, behave well. If you can get close to Jiang Tongling." Li Xiang suddenly interrupted, "How old is he? Could he be a hideous old man?" 28 years old, campus beauty level. Tang Qi glared at him. As they were speaking, a military SUV drove over. When the car door opened, everyone's smiles froze. The old master recognized me first. "You beast. Why is it you?" My appearance shocked everyone. Everyone finally turned to the old master. I'm back. Not welcome? Tang Qi immediately jumped out. You murderer. If you hadn't killed old lady Jiang, the Li family would already be a first-tier family. Li Xiang followed along. Grandpa asked you to serve her. Old lady Jiang thought highly of you. A bastard like you should have committed suicide in prison. As he spoke, he threw a few bills at my feet. Kneel and pick up the money, and then get lost. Before he could finish, smack. Li Xiang was sent flying 3 meters away. The entire venue fell silent. Tang Qi screamed and rushed toward her son. The old master trembled with rage. Men, beat this beast to death. The bodyguards didn't move at all. Didn't you hear me? The Li family didn't hire you to be statues. Still, the bodyguards remained motionless. The old master roared, Are you deaf? Before he could finish, a young voice rang out. No need to shout. These are the War Department's bodyguards. Jiang Siki stepped down from the car slowly. The old master's face turned bright red, like a strangled duck. He was furious, but confused. He couldn't understand why Jiang Siki would arrive in the same car as me. But he quickly suppressed his shock. His wrinkled face squeezed out a smile. Commander Jiang, I am Ji Yucheng's biological grandfather. Those harsh words just now were for his own good. I sneered coldly. For my own good? Then I don't mind returning the favor. I took step after step toward the old master. With every step, the blood drained further from his face. The first slap landed. 3 teeth flew out. This slap is for your greed for money. The second slap immediately followed. This slap is for your disgrace as an elder. After 9 consecutive slaps, the old master's mouth was full of blood. He collapsed on the ground. He cursed unclearly, beast. I am your grandfather. Suddenly, a trembling voice came, Ekin. I turned my head to look. A frail woman was crying with tears streaming down. Mom, I called out softly. My mother approached trembling, but seeing the old master's vicious glare, she suddenly grabbed my hand. Quick, go. Mom will take you away from here. The old master snarled. Break his legs. Otherwise, you and your son get out of the Li family. My mother's face turned deathly pale. She was about to kneel and beg when I gently supported her. Mom, no need to beg him. Hearing my words, the old master suddenly felt uneasy, but thinking about my former weakness and how I had just gotten out of prison to beg at the Li family today, he regained his confidence and looked at my mother, commanding, Your son, you discipline him. I order you to break his legs. Otherwise, you and him will both be expelled. Hearing this, my mother's breathing became ragged. I had just gotten out of prison. She still hoped I could study at the academy. With a criminal record, I couldn't find work. She also had to care for my little sister, and couldn't work either. If we were expelled from the Li family, the 3 of us might starve to death. And given the old master's cruelty, he wouldn't let us survive anyway. Thinking of this, my mother quickly let go of me and begged the old master, It's all my fault. Punish me however you like. Ekin's life has just begun. Please let Ekin go. My mother was about to kneel down, but before her knees touched the ground, I caught her. I coldly swept my gaze over everyone. The Li family, we should have left long ago. As for breaking my legs, I smirked as I spoke, raising my hand and snapping my fingers. To crisp cracking sounds echoed. To crisp cracking sounds rang out. The old master's kneecap shattered on the spot. He screamed like a slaughtered pig. Beast. What have you done to me? I looked at him coldly. Isn't it you who wanted broken legs? Broken legs it is. Whose legs does it matter? Tang Qi reacted first. She pointed at my nose, scolding, Ji Yucheng, he's your biological grandfather. How could you? Li Xiang, covering his face, chimed in. Grandpa was a little harsh with words, but it was for your own good. The Li family members immediately started accusing me noisily. The old master suddenly turned to Jiang Siki in the corner. He cried out, Commander Jiang, you saw it all. This ungrateful beast tried to kill his grandfather. Jiang Siki tried to lower her presence, but hearing this, her face darkened. Even if he's not a biological grandfather, breaking legs is a crime. The old master got more excited. Sentence him to life imprisonment, or better yet, death penalty. Jiang Siki was shocked and startled inside. I turned and smiled lightly. Jiang Siki, you heard them, right? The old master pointed angrily, roaring, Bastard. How dare you call Commander Jiang by name? Quick, arrest him. Jiang Siki took a deep breath and suddenly ordered, Men, The Li family members all showed gloating expressions. My mother quickly shielded me, pleading, "Please spare him. Mom, leave it to me." I helped her into the car. As the door closed, I heard Tong Qi's voice. "Commander Jiang, don't be angry. Please come inside." Bang! Jiang Siki kicked Tong Qi flying. The War Department operatives immediately subdued all the Li family members. Jiang Siki suddenly saluted me. "Commander Jiu, please instruct us." The scene went deathly silent. The old master's eyes widened. "What did you just call him?" I walked up to him. "Who was it just now who wanted me sentenced to death?" The old master screamed hysterically. "Impossible. I am your grandfather. I order you to release me immediately." I slapped him backhanded, sending him sprawling on the ground. "You think you have the right to order me?" Looking at the old man collapsed on the ground, I sneered. "Now you're afraid. But when you threw me into prison back then, why don't you think about today?" Master Li glanced at me with disdain. He turned to Jiang Siki and said, "Commander Jiang, he's just a bastard. Not worthy of you. Our Li family has plenty of fine young men." Li Xiang immediately leaned in. "Commander Jiang, I fell in love with you at first sight. Would you give me a chance?" Jiang Siki was dumbfounded. Even the bodyguards exchanged glances. The thinking of the Li family was truly bizarre. I sneered and interrupted. "Save it. Commander Jiang wouldn't look at trash like you." I turned to the bodyguards and ordered, "Take them all to Lincheng prison. Charge them with insulting the divination authority." Master Li panicked. "Commander Jiang, we weren't insulting. You're just a bastard unworthy to represent divination." Seeing Jiang Siki remain indifferent, the old man quickly thought of an idea. "We are willing to offer the Li family heirloom as an apology." My eyes lit up. I raised my hand to signal a pause. Unexpectedly, it came so easily. But the Li family members exploded. "No way. That is the hope of our Li family. We'd rather go to jail than hand it over." The old man scolded them for being foolish. "Do you want me to die in prison?" He turned to Jiang Siki. "Please allow my son to fetch the treasure." Soon, the head of the Li family brought a white jade box, his face full of reluctance. "This treasure cannot be controlled by anyone in our Li family. We hope Commander Jiang can unleash its value." Jiang Siki took the jade box and handed it directly to me. Inside lay a red crystal-like card quietly. In the center, ancient flame-like patterns were engraved. Everyone present held their breath. This was a legendary star card. In the entire lower nation, there were fewer than 10 star envoys who possessed a star card. Each one was a national treasure. I suppressed my excitement and picked up the star card, but the moment I touched it, I frowned. The lock symbol in the lower right corner meant this star card couldn't be used for now. It seems the road to obtaining elemental star cards will be long. There are still obstacles to overcome. I looked at the Li family members and asked, "Since the star card is sealed, did any of your ancestors mention how to unseal it?" The head of the Li family frowned and asked, "What seal?" Hearing his response, I already knew the answer. I scanned the faces of the other Li family members. In the end, feeling helpless, I had to admit it. The Li family truly had no idea the star card was sealed, let alone how to unseal it. Master Li shot me a displeased look. But with Jiang Siki present, he dared not say anything more. Carefully, he said to Jiang Siki, "Commander Jiang, consider this star card as our offering to you. Could you let us go?" Jiang Siki continued to gaze at me with dazzling brilliance. Then, under the anxious stares of the Li family, I spoke lightly. "You should thank your Li ancestors. If it weren't for this item, none of you would have escaped prison." I directly instructed the War Division members regarding Master Li. Tong Qi and Li Xiang insulted Senior Commander Xiaobiao. Handle them according to Xiaobiao law. The rest of the Li family is placed under house arrest. Before I leave Cloud City, they are not to be released to disgrace us. Master Li and the Li family members were dumbfounded. According to the laws of the lower nation, insulting a senior commander of the divination division was a serious felony with heavy consequences. Together with the house arrest of the others, the mighty Li Corporation would soon face bankruptcy and collapse. Master Li roared in rage, "You slanderous scum. This is slander." Then he turned to Commander Jiang and pleaded, "Commander Jiang, this old man has never spoken a harsh word to you." Hearing this, Jiang Siki looked at Master Li with eyes full of pity and sympathy. The Li family members, seeing his gaze, felt their hearts clench. The next moment, Jiang Siki calmly spoke to the Li family. Master Li, perhaps you don't know yet, but the one you just expelled from your family is none other than the youngest senior commander of the lower nation, Jiang Siki. Jiang Siki's words were like a bomb. It exploded like a bomb in everyone's minds. In that instant, everyone was stunned. Their impression of me was still stuck on me being a coward who couldn't even fart when bullied, just a useless waste. Yet this coward went into prison and came out as someone they could only look up to. They couldn't accept this reality. I glanced coldly over everyone. I looked at Jiang Siki. Why waste words with them? Jiang Siki's heart trembled. She immediately waved at the war officers. Quick, take them away. The officers responded immediately. Master Li and the Li family watched as the officers quickly subdued them. Finally, they accepted the fact that I was a senior commander. A surge of endless regret flooded their hearts. A senior commander under the age of 20 was destined to stand among the most powerful figures in the lower nation. Even now, as a one-star senior commander, the lowest rank, a senior commander could still elevate the entire Li family several notches. Unfortunately, they were blind fools. Not only did they fail to curry favor with me, they even offended me, dragging the Li family straight into the abyss. This enormous fall made Master Li and the others feel a desire for death. But soon, Master Li's regret was replaced by fear. He looked at me and pleaded, Ah-chun, Grandpa was wrong. I'm apologizing to you here and now. For the sake of the years we raised you, please spare Grandpa. Please spare the Li family. I simply looked at him, as if watching a pathetic clown, seeing the war officers about to drag him away, and me making no move to stop them. His begging immediately turned into a roar. You beast, I am your real grandfather. Sending me to prison is the height of unfilial betrayal. You'll be struck by lightning for your sins. I remain unmoved. The old man completely panicked, then suddenly thought of something. He shouted at the top of his lungs, that commander from the Lin family, he's now a 3-star senior commander. Years ago, their matriarch died because of you. If he finds out you're out, he won't let you go. If you let me go now, I'll beg him for mercy for you. Jiang Siki sneered when she heard this. Although Jiyu-chun was young, his achievements on the battlefield were unmatched in the lower nation. Although that Lin family commander was also a 3-star, if they fought, the one to suffer would definitely be the Lin commander. More importantly, the higher-ups wanted Jiyu-chun to keep rising, to climb even higher. Suddenly, Jiang Siki's Special War Division phone rang. Seeing the caller ID, Jiang Siki's breathing became rapid. She answered the call cautiously, hearing the voice on the other end. Her gaze towards me became even more full of respect and awe. A great figure at the pinnacle of the divination division was already on their way from the underground city to the Cloud City station for me. Following the instructions from the call, Jiang Siki hung up the phone, took a deep breath, calmed herself down, and after hastily bidding me farewell, hurried toward the Cloud City station. I took my mother into the car and headed straight to the hospital where Ji-Yuan was. Little did I know that at this moment, Li Xiang, who was being escorted to prison, took the opportunity to contact the Lin family at the Cloud City Divination Division helipad. The great leader Feng Shun slowly descended from her private jet. As the top of the 3 major leaders of the war division, she exuded a natural aura of authority. Jiang Siki greeted her respectfully. The matter with Commander Jiyu is resolved. We invited him twice to become the 4th Grand Commander. This time, we hope to persuade him again during the Supreme Council meeting, but we didn't expect this incident to happen. If he refuses again this time, where will I put my old face? Jiang Siki quietly clenched her fist. So many dream of that position. Yet our boss has declined 3 times. The gap is truly astonishing. Tomorrow the Liu family will challenge. Commander, come watch the match with me. Jiang Siki suddenly remembered how Master Li had tried to threaten with the Lin family. If she knew about the 3 invitations, she would collapse on the spot. Not to mention Liu Xiao's mother. The alien star commander Liu Fangxing was already rushing toward the Liu family. She couldn't help but worry for me. At the hospital parking lot, just after I got out of the car, I received a call from ground staff boss. We found a clue. In the history of the Lower Nation, there is only one unlocked star card, and it's located in the underground city. But the specific location still needs confirmation. We'll investigate as fast as possible. We'll speed it up. Also, the ground staff became excited. We found the woman you were looking for. She's in the Lower Nation, at the Underground Academy. We have a lead. I held my breath. That beautiful face appeared in my mind. The woman who once restrained her brilliance for me. Get ready. I'm heading to the underground city. There's one more thing. The ground team continued reporting. The Liu mother and daughter are gathering forces, planning to confront us tomorrow at Qingyun Peak. Liu Xia's mother, Liu Fengxing, a one-star commander, is already rushing back to the Liu family. She seems unaware of your true identity. I replied indifferently. If she knows what's good for her, I won't hold it against her. But if she insists on interfering, then she shouldn't blame me for being ruthless. While taking the call, I had already arrived at Jiyu Wen's hospital room with my mother. Mother saw Jiyu Wen, who was pale on the hospital bed. Her eyes instantly turned red. She quickly walked to the bedside. She wanted to touch her daughter's face, but was afraid to wake her up. Mother asked me with a trembling voice, Xiaowan, what happened? I briefly explained what had happened. After hearing it, Mother stiffly turned to look at me. In a hoarse voice, she said, the old master actually agreed to let Liu Xiao drain Xiaowan's blood. How could he be so heartless? I gently patted my mother's shoulder to comfort her. Xiaowan is fine now. She recovered after some rest. Mother nodded. She made an excuse to go to the bathroom and left the ward. She took out her phone. With determined eyes, she dialed a number that had been dormant for years. The next noon, two people arrived at the VIP ward of the hospital. The man's name was Lin Pfeifen. He was the nephew of the current head of the Lin family. He was originally going to the Li family to handle some matters. When he heard that Ji Yuyi was coming to the hospital, he decided to come along. When the two walked into the ward, the parents were preparing lunch for Ji Yuyi, steamed buns, stir-fried vegetables, and boiled eggs. It had been a long time since Ji Yuyi had a full meal. Mother looked at the visitors in confusion. Annie, I'm Ji Yuyi, the young girl said with a smile. Grandma sent me to help. Mother was stunned for a moment, then she showed a relieved smile. It turned out she had contacted the family last night, and Ji Yuyi was the supporter they sent. Lin Pfeifen sized up Ji Yuyi's mother, feeling she looked somewhat familiar when he saw the food on the table. He immediately frowned. Even beggars wouldn't eat this kind of food. And yet you dare to serve it to us. Ji Yuyi stared blankly at Lin Pfeifen, not understanding why he said that. To her, this was already a rare and good meal. I spoke coldly. This food is for people to eat, not for feeding dogs. Get them out of here immediately. Lin Pfeifen suddenly waved his hand. He swept all the bowls and chopsticks off the table onto the floor. Ji Yuyi quickly jumped out of bed. She tried to pick up the food that hadn't completely spilled. Seeing Ji Yuyi reaching out to pick up the food, Lin Pfeifen lifted his foot, about to stomp down. There were broken porcelain pieces on the ground. If he stepped down, it would definitely hurt Ji Yuyi's hand. Just as I was about to act, there was a crisp slap sound. Ji Yuyi slapped Lin Pfeifen hard across the face. Apologize to my aunt, Ji Yuyi said coldly. Otherwise, get out. Lin Pfeifen stared at her in disbelief. Ji Yuyi, don't think that just because I like you, you can do whatever you want. I'll say it one last time, Ji Yuyi said firmly. Apologize to my aunt. Lin Pfeifen's face was full of anger. He glared fiercely at Ji Yuyi. Ji Yuyi, Lin Pfeifen will make you regret what you said today. After saying this, Lin Pfeifen turned to leave. Just as he turned around, Taisha blocked his way. Her face looked very grim. Seeing Taisha suddenly intervene, Lin Pfeifen tried to slap Taisha away. Get out of my way. However, before he could touch Taisha, a sudden irresistible force struck him. Lin Pfeifen was thrown flying across the room. Maybe it was a coincidence, but his body happened to crash onto the shards on the floor. Several cuts immediately appeared on his body. Blood oozed out from the wounds, quickly staining his casual clothes red. Yet Lin Pfeifen seemed not to feel the pain at all. He looked at Taisha in disbelief. He could never have imagined that in this small cloud city, a top-level fighter would actually appear. Taisha just looked at him coldly. Without saying a word, she was waiting for my instructions. Killing someone here might cause a lot of trouble, but as long as I give the order, he will not hesitate in the slightest. I didn't say anything more to Taisha. She just looked at Lin Pfeifen indifferently. At this moment, Lin Pfeifen was in an extremely miserable state. Taisha said coldly, "Finish everything on the ground." Lin Pfeifen was filled with rage. "You think just because you have someone standing to protect you, you can act lawlessly? I'm telling you, our Lin family could crush you as easily as stepping on an ant." Before Lin Pfeifen could continue speaking, I glanced at Taisha and signaled her to help him eat. Without a word, Taisha immediately walked over to Lin Pfeifen. After crouching down, she grabbed Lin Pfeifen by the hair. With her other hand, she picked up the vegetables on the ground and forcefully stuffed them into Lin Pfeifen's mouth. Lin Pfeifen struggled desperately, trying to spit out the vegetables in his mouth, but under Tisha's control. No matter how he struggled, he couldn't break free from her grip. After a while, he gradually stopped struggling. Tears welled up in his eyes as he looked at me. Very soon, almost all the food was stuffed into Lin Pfeifen's stomach. I pulled Ji-Yuan closer, rubbing her little hand that was almost hurt, and looked coldly at Lin Pfeifen. "Break the hand that just smashed the plates yourself." Lin Pfeifen's pupils shrank. He never expected that in the small, rural cloud city. Not only were there top-level fighters, but they were also so ruthless. I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. "I'll give you anything you want. Please spare me." I remained indifferent. "If you need someone's help, it won't just be one hand that gets broken." Lin Pfeifen completely panicked. "I'll give you 100 million. Spare me." I started counting down. 3 to before I could finish the count, Lin Pfeifen's eyes widened in shock. He screamed sharply, "You bastard, don't go too far." Just as he finished speaking, the sound of two bones breaking echoed almost simultaneously. Lin Pfeifen couldn't help but scream. I merely glanced at him indifferently. "You should be grateful this isn't a battlefield. Otherwise, breaking just your two hands would be the least of your problems." Then, I turned to Taisha and instructed her to take him away. "Don't scare my mother and sister." Taisha immediately acknowledged the order. A few seconds later, Lin Pfeifen disappeared from the ward. I contacted the hotel manager, who delivered a meal, and Ji-Yuan had the best meal she had eaten. After eating, I took out a golden bank card. "Mom, take this. If you need anything, just withdraw money from the bank." Mother hurriedly declined. "You keep it." "Mom doesn't need it," I continued. "Wang Lan is still growing. If not for yourself, at least think about Wang Lan. Don't worry, there isn't much money inside." Hearing me mention Ji-Yuan, Mother hesitated for a moment, but eventually accepted the card. Soon it was for 30 p.m. I instructed people to protect Mother and Ji-Yuan well, and then took Taisha and Ji-Yu to Qingyun Peak, where we had agreed to meet Liu Ziyan. Ji-Yu had already learned the general situation, thinking about how Liu Xiao almost drained Ji-Yuan's blood. He wished he could personally end that beast's life. But what he didn't expect was, when we arrived at the foot of Qingyun Peak, we actually saw Lin Pfeifen. Both his hands were wrapped up like pig trotters. Ji-Yu frowned and asked, "Why are you here?" Hearing this, Lin Pfeifen suddenly laughed, but his laughter was a bit strange. "Why would I be here? Why would I come here? It's because I came to Cloud City specifically for that little bastard." Ji-Yu was slightly stunned. "What are you saying?" Lin Pfeifen sneered. "You still don't know, do you? That little bastard is the murderer who caused my grandmother's death. My grandmother once favored him, which should have been an honor for his entire family, but he despised my grandmother for being old. On the night my grandmother was preparing to sleep with him, he killed her. Originally, I just wanted to send that little bastard back to prison, so he could rot there for the rest of his life. But since he refuses to appreciate kindness, don't blame me for being ruthless." When Ji-Yu heard Lin Pfeifen say this, her heart tightened instantly. If Granny Lin really died because of her, that 3-star senior commander would never let her go. What should she do? How could she help me? I looked at Lin Pfeifen, a cold gleam flashing in my eyes, as if I were looking at a dead man. Before Ji-Yu could think further, a group of people suddenly appeared in the distance. As they drew nearer, a powerful aura swept over. Sensing the aura of the 3 people at the front, Ji-Yu's eyes widened sharply. 3 ultimate warriors. No, not just 3 ultimate warriors. There were also 10 junior warriors, and nearly 200 ordinary strong fighters. At that thought, Ji-Yu gasped sharply. She then turned to look at me. The Liu family is just a small family. Getting even one ultimate warrior would be their limit. How could 3 ultimate warriors come? Taisha glanced at her disdainfully. So, what if there are 3? Why make such a fuss? The group was getting closer and closer. Jiyu said anxiously. We can't beat them. Let's run, quickly. Taisha saw Jiyu's panicked look and clearly felt a bit speechless. Run? If we really can't beat them, do you think running will save us? Hearing Tisha's words, Jiyu's face froze. The next moment, her arms fell powerlessly. Yes, with so many strong enemies. Even if we ran, where could we run to? Hearing Tisha's resigned tone, Lin Pfeiffer sneered and said, At least you know your place. He looked at me smugly. Because time was too tight. His family couldn't spare any strong fighters to come and help him take revenge on me, but he found out how the Liu family had prepared for today's duel. This time he came, just to see me, a lowly commoner, kneel at Liu Xian's feet like a dog, begging her to spare my life. Then he would reveal his identity to Liu Xian and propose a marriage alliance as a condition for her to hand me over to him. The Liu family group stopped, about 10 meters away from us. I remained calm and composed. A suppressed look appeared on Liu Xian's face. I swept my gaze across Liu Xiao in the wheelchair and the Liu family members, finally settling on Liu Xian. Just delivering an apology gift. Is it necessary to bring so many people? Hearing my words, Liu Xian showed a faint smile. An apology gift? Hey, I did indeed come to deliver a gift. But before giving the gift, I have to see if you are qualified to receive it. I sighed. I gave you a day to prepare the apology, yet you used it to plan how to deal with me. The Liu family leader breaking promises will have to pay the price. Liu Xian's gaze suddenly turned cold. I don't have time to waste words with you here. Either you break your legs now and apologize to Xiao, or die. Wenyan. I curled my lips and spoke leisurely. If you kneel now and apologize to me, I'll spare you this time. Otherwise, I'll let you understand what real regret is. Just as I finished speaking, the crowd collectively gasped. They had seen people unafraid of death, but never someone so arrogant, even with death looming. Liu Xian said coldly. Looks like there's no need for further discussion. In that case, just then, a phone started ringing. Liu Xian took out her phone, frowning. If it weren't for something major happening, no one would dare to call this number. Unless something huge happened. She hesitated for a moment, but still picked up the call. Hearing the voice from the other end, Liu Xian's mind seemed to explode. She stood there stunned, her hand loosening suddenly. The phone fell to the ground. Everyone at the scene could hear clearly. The Liu family members behind her were stunned, looking at the phone on the ground, exchanging glances in confusion. What kind of call could make Liu Xian lose control like that? Liu Xiao, sitting in the wheelchair, felt a surge of bad premonition. Annie, what's wrong? Liu Xian didn't respond. She slowly turned to look at me, as if she wanted to kill me with her eyes. You did this. I smiled faintly at her. I told you, I would make you understand what regret means. Liu Xian clenched her fists tightly, the sound of bones creaking between her fingers. Liu Xiao grew even more anxious. Annie, what happened? Liu Xian took a deep breath, her voice hoarse. The corporation is gone. Liu Xiao's pupils contracted sharply. She instinctively pulled out her phone and saw an incoming call. She took a deep breath, her fingers trembling as she answered. The corporation is finished. Liu Xiao's heart sank. She quickly asked, what exactly happened? The corporation was fine before she came here. How could it collapse in less than an hour? The voice on the other end said, the data center was attacked. All the information has been leaked. You know, a lot of what's inside can't be exposed publicly. The authorities have already intervened. Our corporation can't withstand an investigation. Hearing this, Liu Xiao's eyes widened uncontrollably. How could it leak? How could that data leak out? Didn't we hire the top programmers? Were they all eating for nothing? The person on the other end sounded helpless. They said the ones attacking the corporation's database were world-class hackers. Our firewalls were like paper in their eyes, completely useless. Liu Xiao took a deep breath and directly interrupted the other party. Is there any way to save it? There was silence for a few seconds before the other party cautiously replied. The corporation is definitely going bankrupt. Maybe you could beg the Liu family leader to rebuild a new corporation. In extreme anger, Liu Xiao smashed the phone on the ground. Years of hard work were destroyed in just a few minutes. Even with a strong mind, she couldn't accept such a reality. She suddenly turned her head to look at me, her eyes full of bloodlust. Annie, kill him. Kill him for me. Liu Xian let out a light sigh. She looked at me and said slowly, originally, I didn't intend to kill you, but you touched my bottom line. I was speechless for a moment. Back then, Liu Xiao had said the same thing, but ended up with broken legs like a dog. I spoke directly, my patience is limited. Hand over the apology gift now, or I don't mind making you suffer even greater losses. The killing intent in Liu Xian's eyes grew stronger. She stared at me viciously and said, that depends on whether you have the ability. Although the Liu Corporation was gone and the Liu family was badly hurt, the Liu family still had more than just the Liu Corporation. Their foundation in Cloud City was the Grey Forces. The Yunbang was under Liu Xian's control. I sneered coldly, since you said so. Then it would be rude if I didn't do something. After saying that, I raised my phone to my ear. Can we proceed? Liu Xian's brows furrowed tightly. Suddenly Liu Xiao shouted, Annie? Kill him now. This man is too dangerous. She was really afraid something unexpected would happen again. Liu Xian didn't want to waste any more time, just as she was about to give the order to attack. The phone rang again. She and Liu Xiao breathed in sync. The next moment, both of them suddenly looked at me. Their faces were filled with shock and unease. I smiled faintly. I raised my hand and made a pleased gesture. The unease in their hearts was magnified infinitely. After hesitating for a moment, Liu Xian bent down and picked up the phone on the ground. She pressed the answer button. Boss, it's bad. Someone just stormed into Yunbang headquarters. Now there are heavy casualties at headquarters. Our brothers probably won't hold out much longer. The moment the voice fell, Liu Xian staggered unsteadily, suddenly stumbling back a step. She quickly forced herself to calm down. She asked, how many are there? The other side said, all of them are elite warriors. We're no match for them. Liu Xian asked, how much longer can you hold? The voice on the other end suddenly trembled. We can't hold anymore. Before the words fell, a shrill scream rang out. Then there was a loud bang. The person on the other side fell silent, but the call wasn't disconnected. Soon after, a low voice came through the phone. Help me tell him. Boss, mission accomplished. Yunbang has fallen. The moment that voice fell, Liu Xian felt like her head had been fiercely hammered. Her mind went completely blank. Her life's hard work was destroyed within just a few minutes. Yunbang was gone. The Liu family lost their biggest asset in Yuncheng. Liu Xian was nearly crushed by the blow. Liu Xiao was also dumbfounded. She stiffly raised her head and looked at me, as if she were looking at a demon. After a moment, she turned to look at Liu Xian. In a hoarse voice, she said, Annie, if he doesn't die, the Liu family will never have peace. Hearing this, Liu Xian snapped back to her senses. Her gaze at me was filled with overwhelming killing intent. You're very smart. You knew that to deal with you. I gathered all the top fighters of Yunbang, but now, I will make you understand. In the face of absolute power, your little tricks are completely useless. After speaking, she ordered the people behind her attack together. Kill everyone on the other side. The crowd responded in unison. The momentum made Lin Feifan tremble in fear. He quickly stepped forward, head of the Liu family. I am Lin Feifan from the Lin family of the imperial capital. I'm not with them. Liu Xian's eyes narrowed slightly. The Lin family of the imperial capital. Lin Feifan nodded repeatedly. Yes. I am the direct grandson of the head of the Lin family. My uncle is a 3-star high commander. Yinchuan Zhuangandi Wuminzhuan Palace 17. Before he could finish, no one stepped forward. The surrounding atmosphere grew even more intense. Just as the words fell, one figure behind me suddenly stepped out. A powerful wave of energy swept outward like a tide. She calmly looked at the crowd in front of her, as if she could trample the world underfoot. One of the three emperors, Emperor of Earth, Disha. Just as Disha's words fell, two powerful auras erupted not far away. The next moment, the figures appeared on the north and south sides. The man on the south side wore a blue earring. His voice was gentle, yet carried a penetrating force that struck deep into the heart. One of the three emperors, Emperor of Qin, Di-Qin. The man on the north side exuded an overwhelming battle aura. One of the three emperors, Emperor of War, Di-Zhan. As soon as Di-Zhan's voice dropped, the momentum of all the people from the underground palace exploded. Liu Xian's legs could no longer support her. She collapsed onto the ground, completely drained. She slumped heavily onto the floor. Meanwhile, the 200 or so people who had charged toward me were now extremely close. They could feel even more clearly the terrifying aura surrounding these people. Their eyes were filled with fear. Their bodies trembled uncontrollably. The people from the Liu family side, Jiu Yu and Lin Pfeifen, were both staring at me in shock. As members of a major family in Imperial City, they naturally had heard of the underground palace. The family elders had repeatedly warned them never to provoke members of the underground palace. But now, so many members of the underground palace appeared here. When they arrived, they mentioned there was a princess here. So who is their princess? Thinking of this, Jiu Yu and Lin Pfeifen's gazes fell sorrowfully upon me. But the next moment, both of them shook their heads in denial. Impossible. How could the princess of the underground palace be under 20? And how could she possibly be a labor camp convict? Yet in the next instant, the members of the underground palace all half knelt before me. Their voices were reverent and devout. We pay our respects to the princess. At this moment, Jiu Yu, Lin Pfeifen, and everyone from the Liu family were struck dumb, their minds going completely blank. The surroundings fell into a dead silence. Yet facing this shocking scene, I simply lifted my hand calmly and said, "Rise." I slowly raised my eyes, looking at Liu Xian, who had collapsed to the ground. "I had given you a chance before." My voice was calm, showing no joy or anger. But it was precisely this calmness that caused Liu Xian's heart to plummet instantly. She stared at me stiffly. At this moment, she finally realized the Liu family was truly doomed this time. Liu Xiao shook her head gently, muttering, "How is this possible? He's just a kid, not even 20 years old. How could it be?" Meanwhile, not far ahead of me, over 200 thugs hired by the Liu family were looking at me in disbelief. The underground palace was a sacred place in the hearts of all martial artists, but even in their wildest dreams, they had never imagined the ruler of the underground palace would turn out to be a mere young kid. Endless regret surged into their hearts, realizing their chances of entering the underground palace were now slim. Now they had offended the ruler of the underground palace, completely shattering their hopes of ever entering it. I paid no attention to their reactions. I turned my gaze onto Lin Pfeifen. "I had already given you a way out. But since you refused to take it, I will fulfill your wish. You just said you wanted to be engaged to him, then be a pair of doomed lovers together." Hearing my words, Lin Pfeifen's eyes widened sharply. But the next moment, thinking of the nature of the underground palace, he forced himself to stay calm. Then his gaze locked onto me tightly. No matter how powerful the underground palace is, it's only rampant outside of official authority. My uncle is a senior commander of 3 stars. If you dare touch me, the entire Lower Nation War Department won't let you go. I lifted my eyes and glanced at him indifferently, my voice calm but carrying a bone-chilling coldness. "Then I really want to see what happens if I touch you." After speaking, I tilted my head slightly and said coldly, "Do it." As my voice fell, a slightly aged but dignified voice suddenly rang out, "I'd like to see who dares." Everyone at the scene jolted violently. People turned their heads one after another, looking toward where the voice came from. An old woman dressed in a War Department uniform walked toward us alone. The Liu family side immediately perked up because of her sensitive identity. Liu Fengxing had not stepped forward at first. In fact, if Liu Xian had handled it well, she didn't intend to appear at all. But she never expected the Liu family would be pushed to this extent by a mere kid. If she still didn't show up, Liu Xian and Liu Xiao would surely die. Seeing Liu Fengxing, both Liu Xian and Liu Xiao immediately breathed a sigh of relief. But soon after, They thought about how they had been humiliated so badly by a young brat. Both of them lowered their heads in shame. Liu Ziyan let out a sigh. She looked apologetic and said, "Big sister, I'm sorry, I was powerless." Liu Fangxing, however, shook her head. "It's not your fault. Even I, this old woman, didn't expect this brat would have such a background." After speaking, her sharp eyes looked directly at me. "Kid, you're impressive. I admit that neither my sister nor my daughter is a match for you. Give Liu Fangxing some face. Let's settle things here today, shall we?" I looked at her calmly. "Yesterday, I already spared Liu Xiao, for your sake. As for giving you face, forget about you. Even if Phoenix stood before me, you could ask him if he dares to ask for my respect." Hearing this, Liu Fangxing's face darkened immediately. "I admit you have some skills, but you shouldn't be so arrogant. Just because you have some ability. After all, no matter how strong you are, can you be stronger than the War Department?" I looked indifferently at Liu Fangxing, smiling faintly. "The War Department, you, a mere one-star senior commander, can you really represent the entire War Department?" Liu Fangxing was momentarily at a loss for words. She gritted his teeth and scolded me. "You are showing disrespect to a senior commander of the War Department. I have the right to order your arrest and imprisonment." I sneered. Ordinary people saying that might indeed be accused of offending the War Department, but if I say it, it's just a superior disciplining a subordinate. Hearing this, Liu Fangxing was stunned. She looked at me coldly, impersonating a high-ranking officer. "How dare you?" I glanced at her coldly, then suddenly raised my hand. A crisp sound rang out, and a delicate golden badge was thrown right onto Liu Fangxing's face. Liu Fangxing instinctively caught the badge. When she saw the emblem clearly, her pupils shrank to pinpoints. 3 craftsman's stars. The badge this brat casually tossed was actually engraved with 3 craftsman's stars. This signified a senior commander of 3 stars, a full 2 ranks higher than her. Holding the badge, Liu Fangxing's knuckles turned white. At that moment, she thought of the legend in the War Department. The 17-year-old senior commander. If Jiu City really had such a legend, Liu Fangxing's face instantly turned ashen. Meanwhile, everyone on the Liu family side looked at Liu Fangxing with growing unease in their hearts. Could it be that brat was from the War Department too? And his rank was even higher than Liu Fangxing's? However, the next moment, everyone dismissed this thought. Impossible. Becoming a princess of the underground palace might happen by accident, though difficult. But to become a senior commander in the War Department was not something achievable through luck alone. A moment later, Liu Fangxing raised her head with great difficulty. Her voice hoarse. "Where did you get this badge?" She still held on to a sliver of hope. Maybe the badge didn't belong to her. But Liu Fangxing was bound to be disappointed. I merely looked at her calmly, a faint smile tugging at the corners of my lips. Have things been too easy for the War Department lately? If something like this wasn't yours, would anyone dare to casually take it out? Are they even human? The final straw of hope in Liu Fangxing's heart was crushed by me instantly. Her mind was left with only one thought. It's over. The Liu family is finished. According to the laws of the lower nation, Liu Ziyan and Liu Xiao had attempted to murder a senior commander of 3 stars. At minimum, they would rot in prison. As Liu Xiao's mother, she too could not escape punishment. Under the immense pressure, Liu Fangxing's legs gave out instantly. She actually knelt down before me. The scene instantly plunged into dead silence. Looking at Liu Fangxing kneeling before me, the Liu family members were dumbfounded. What did they just see? Liu Fangxing, who once called the shots in the War Department, was now kneeling before this brat. What is going on? What the hell is happening? Could it be that this brat holds a divination title even higher than Liu Fangxing? But he's just a kid in his early 20s. At the same time, Liu Ziyan looked at the scene before her. Her breathing suddenly quickened. Her eldest sister, the greatest pillar of the Liu family, actually kneeled to that brat just like that. Could it really be true, as he said, that his divination level is higher than her sister's? She had thought I was just afraid of Liu Fangxing, but now she finally realized that the reason he kneeled yesterday was not because he underestimated me, nor because I ambushed him, but because I possess at least the strength of a high-level warrior. Strength. At this moment, she suddenly felt ridiculous. If only she hadn't misjudged my strength so badly, the Liu family wouldn't have been forced into this situation. She always prided herself on being smart, but looking at it now, how foolish she was. Meanwhile, Lin Pfeiffer had just been relieved thinking he made the right choice, but now he was rooted to the spot. He stared blankly at Liu Fengxing, his mind suddenly unable to process anything. The scene before him almost shattered his understanding. Wasn't Liu Fengxing a high-ranking commander of the divination division? How could she kneel before Jiu Cheng? This minor figure from Yuncheng was not only a princess of the underworld palace, but also a high-ranking commander of the divination division, and he's only 19 years old. Not far from him, Jiu was also somewhat stunned. When he learned that I was the princess of the underworld palace, he was already deeply shocked. Now, Liu Fengxing suddenly came out and told him his title might be even higher than his. In front of Jiu Chun, the future head of the Jiu family in the imperial capital, was nothing but a worthless fool. Someone like Jiu Chun could crush the Liu family as easily as stepping on ants. Just a slight move would wipe them out, and he even dared demand his head just now. Could there be a more ridiculous joke in the world? At this moment, Liu Fengxing's feelings were extremely complicated. He looked up at me, her eyes filled with pleading. My lord, these two are all the family I have left. Please spare them. I merely looked at her calmly, showing no sign of emotion. I already said earlier, yesterday, for your sake, I spared Liu Xiao's life, but she didn't cherish it. So she has no one else to blame. After speaking, I directly looked toward Di Zan and Di Sha and said again, do it. Liu Fengxing's heart suddenly tightened. Then she hurriedly looked at me and spoke. Even if your title is higher than mine, if you kill someone in public, you will still be violating the law of Xia Nation. Hearing this, I suddenly smiled. I looked at Liu Fengxing with an even colder gaze. Law? When your daughter tried to harm my sister, did she ever think about the law? When your sister led people to kill me today, did she ever think about the law? If I were just an ordinary person, I would already be dead, and you, watching from the shadows, wouldn't have even shown your face. But now that they've lost, you want to talk to me about the law? Is the law your family's toy? To pull it out whenever you need it, and throw it away like garbage whenever you don't? Liu Fengxing was choked by my words, but soon after, she took a deep breath and spoke righteously. They are them. You are you. They are just ordinary citizens of Xia Nation, but you are a high-ranking member of the War Department. Your every word and action represents the authority of the entire Xia Nation. Unless you step over my dead body, you won't be able to touch them. She knew that what she said was enough for me to charge her with insubordination. But compared to the lives of her only daughter and sister, this meant nothing. I just stared straight at her, my gaze growing colder. Finally, I spoke with an icy voice. What if I insist on killing them? Liu Fengxing took a deep breath, but her gaze remained firm. Then I will report this to Fengken, the Grand Leader, and let her decide. She knew that I was now only one step away from the position of Grand Leader. If I wanted that position, I could not afford any mistakes right now. If I killed Liu Ziyan and Liu Xiao, this would involve violating Xia Nation's law. If word got out, the consequences would be disastrous. She didn't believe I would dare, because this would alert Fengken. As for why she would seek Fengken instead of the other two Grand Leaders, it was because Fengken ranked first among the three Grand Leaders, holding the highest authority. Secondly, and most importantly, I had just said that even Fengken dared not let me lose face. If she mentioned what I said about Fengken earlier, even unintentionally, then at least in the short term, I could forget about ever becoming Grand Leader. Thinking of this, Liu Fengxing suddenly felt a surge of confidence. She straightened her back even more, looking aged, but her eyes remained sharp as she stared at me. She was waiting for me to change my mind, waiting for me to explain that my previous words about Fengken were just careless remarks. But instead, a trace of bloodlust suddenly appeared in my eyes. Then, I suddenly turned my head and looked at a tree not far away. Speaking unhurriedly, Feng Shuling, have you seen enough? If you've seen enough, you can come out now. As soon as I finished speaking, The Saronians fell silent again. Almost everyone turned to look over. Under everyone's gaze, an old but upright figure stepped out from behind the tree. The moment Liu Fangxing saw the old figure, her eyes widened slightly. She uncontrollably moved closer to the figure. However, the old man did not look at her, but instead smiled and spoke to me. "Kid, your instincts are really sharp. I hid so well. Yet you still found me." Everyone was stunned. From his tone, it didn't sound like he was talking to a subordinate at all. It was clearly the tone an elder would use when speaking to a beloved junior. Hearing this, I smiled faintly. "I didn't expect you to have a hobby of peeking either." Liu Fangxing heard my words, and her eyes widened sharply. She actually dared to use the word peeking to describe the Grand Leader. Was she crazy? However, just when she thought Fangchen would instantly get angry because I had disrespected my superior, Fangchen merely coughed awkwardly. Without any intention of pursuing the matter, she then turned her head to look at Liu Fangxing. Liu Fangxing snapped out of her shock, immediately straightened her posture, and saluted Fangchen. With a powerful momentum, she greeted, "Greetings, Grand Leader." Fangchen slightly raised her hand, but the look she gave Liu Fangxing was far less gentle than when she looked at me. Her gaze was slightly cold. As she stared directly at Liu Fangxing, her voice carried some dissatisfaction. "Indulging your family's misconduct, and today openly defying your superior, Commander Liu. This is not the behavior expected of a senior commander." Flattering. Her attitude when facing Liu Fangxing was completely different from when facing me. Liu Fangxing froze sharply. The next moment, she snapped back to her senses and quickly explained, "Grand Leader is right. It is indeed my failure to discipline my family properly." However, in the next moment, her tone suddenly shifted. "But although my family was at fault, the crime does not warrant death. Even if it really came to a death sentence, it should not be executed by a lower-ranking commander." Liu Fangxing was completely distorting right and wrong. I suddenly laughed. "Not deserving death. Commander Liu, haven't you heard of the principle, a life for a life? Or does Commander Liu believe, after your daughter drained my sister's blood, I should be grateful and even set off firecrackers to celebrate?" Hearing my words, Fangchen's gaze turned cold again. Liu Fangxing quickly said, "Xiao only wanted to draw a little blood to save someone. She never intended to kill your sister." "Your sister didn't die, did she?" I gave Liu Fangxing a cold glance. Having no interest in arguing nonsense with her, I directly looked at Fangchen and said, "Whether Liu Xiao intended to drain my sister's blood, we can check the hospital surveillance to find out." "Liu Fangxing, I've said this much already. There's no way you can refute it." She gritted her teeth and took a step back. "I admit Xiao was wrong. But what about Ziyan? I clearly heard you say you wanted someone to kill Ziyan just now. I couldn't have heard wrong, right?" I suddenly laughed. "The reason I came here today was because Liu Ziyan said she wanted to apologize to me here, to sever ties with your Liu family. I traveled all this way. But I didn't expect your sister, who controls Yun City's underworld forces, to have no intention of apologizing at all. Instead, she brought over 100 people to kill me. If it weren't for my friends who happened to be nearby, I might already be dead." Liu Fangxing was so furious she nearly spat blood. If she really wanted to apologize, why would she come here to do it? You're not an idiot. How could you believe such nonsense about coming to apologize? And you, as a senior commander, at least a high-level warrior. Even if all the people brought by the Liu family attacked together, they wouldn't even touch a single hair of yours. Yet you claim you were almost killed by them? Were you just going to lie there and let them kill you? Most importantly, you said my sister brought people over. Then just say she brought people over. Why do you have to emphasize that my sister controls the underworld forces? Are you trying to highlight your own role as a good citizen or a saint?" The Grand Leader's attitude towards him was not harsh enough. After a few breaths, Liu Fangxing forcibly swallowed the blood surging up. She took a deep breath and said, "You're avoiding the question. What I asked was, what right do you have to order the deaths of Xiao and Ziyan?" I looked at Liu Fangxing blandly, as if looking at an idiot. "Commander Liu, you're a veteran in the divination department. You should know that those who attempt to assassinate a senior commander may be executed on the spot according to the law, not to mention they aren't even dead yet. Even if they were, they would have deserved it." Liu Fengxing froze where she stood. She had been too angry earlier, her mind a mess, and had forgotten that such a law existed in Xia country. With this in mind, Jiu Chun really hadn't done anything wrong. The next moment, the look she gave me suddenly changed. This man had truly calculated everything, ignoring Liu Fengxing's gaze. I turned again to the Grand Leader Fengken. Liu Xiao attempted and tried to kill a 6-year-old child. Liu Xian brought people over intending to kill a senior commander of the division. How should they be dealt with? You decide. Liu Fengxing suddenly came to his senses, a wave of panic rising in her heart. She feared that the Grand Leader would make a direct decision, and hurriedly spoke up. Grand Leader, Xiao and Xian are guilty. But it's not as serious as she says, and no one actually died because of them. I begged the Grand Leader to spare my only two relatives. My gaze grew even colder. It was precisely because you, a senior commander of the division, were backing them, that they dared act so recklessly. If every high-ranking family member of the division acted like this, Xia country wouldn't need another nation to invade. It would destroy itself from within. Liu Fengxing wished she could bite me to death. Whatever she said, I had to come back. She had never felt so humiliated in her life. Liu Fengxing still wanted to say something, but the Grand Chief was interrupted by Feng Chun raising her hand. Today, this concerns the Liu family. Indeed, they have no standing. If I let it slide just because of a plea, how would I deal with similar incidents involving other senior members of the division in the future? How should I handle it? After finishing, she looked back at the War Division members who followed her. She said, take Liu Xiu, Liu Zian, and this Mr. Lin into the Yun City prison. Their sentencing will be left to the court to decide. Liu Fengxing's heart sank. Liu Xiao and Liu Zian's faces turned stiff. Lin Feifen's face immediately showed fear. If it was left to the court, once their charges were confirmed, even if they weren't sentenced to death, it would still be life imprisonment. In the urgency of the situation, he couldn't care about anything else. He hurriedly shouted at Feng Chun, Grand Chief. My uncle Lin Chuan is a senior commander of the Divination Division 3 stars. I only had a small conflict with him, and even had both hands broken by him. You can't treat me like this. Feng Chun just glanced lightly at Lin Feifen. Without any reaction, Lin Chuan is Lin Chuan, and you are you, she said. Seeing this, Liu Fengxing showed even more desperation. The aura around Grand Chief Feng Chun turned cold. If you still won't accept it, then I'll have to leave it to Commander Jiu to handle. Liu Fengxing's face changed dramatically upon hearing that. She quickly changed her tone and said, I accept the Grand Chief's decision. After speaking, she glanced at me, her eyes filled with hatred and resentment. But Grand Chief, Commander Jiu is not entirely without fault. Before you arrived, I personally heard him say that he wouldn't even give you face. When you walked out from behind the tree just now, he even called you by your full name directly, and used words like peeping to describe you, Grand Chief. He didn't respect you at all. With his arrogant attitude, sooner or later, it will cause a disaster and bring irreparable loss to the War Division. Upon hearing this, Feng Chun frowned. What do you want to say? Liu Fengxing continued, Jiu Tongling is too young. I admit he has made many contributions to the country, but his qualifications are too shallow. Do you know, 2 years ago, those veteran middle-ranked commanders, how they felt when they heard that a brat, not even 20 years old, became a 3-star senior commander? How they felt inside. They spent their whole lives fighting for the country, yet they couldn't even match up to a snot-nosed brat. Because of this, do you know how disappointed they were in Xiaguo's War Division? In order not to completely break the hearts of the veterans, and to give Commander Jiu time to mature, to wash away his arrogance and impatience, I suggest, first demote Commander Jiu to a mid-level commander, and only consider promoting him again after he is at least 30 years old. Otherwise, the division will fall into chaos. After listening to Liu Fengxing's accusations and suggestions, I let out a cold laugh. Then I turned my head, my cold gaze falling on Feng Chun, Grand Chief. Since so many people think I'm not suitable for this position, there's no need to bother with the demotion. Just let me leave the War Division directly. I stayed to protect Xiaobu, only because of a promise to a friend. If the War Division thinks I'm unfit, there's no need for me to risk my life to continue guarding Xiaguo. I don't even need to hurry to unseal that star badge. As soon as I finished speaking, the surroundings fell into silence again. Everyone except the members of the underground palace looked at me as if I were crazy. Liu Fangxing couldn't believe her ears. Leaving the war division, was she insane? No, she had already reached this height. She couldn't possibly be willing to leave. That must mean she was using the threat of leaving the war division to force the Grand Chief not to demote her. Thinking of this, the look Liu Fangxing gave me was full of mockery and disdain. Did she really think that without her, Xiaoguo's war division would not be able to function properly? If the Grand Chief could be threatened by her, she wouldn't have achieved her current status. Using such tactics to threaten the Grand Chief would only trap herself. She would definitely regret it. While Liu Fangxing was still thinking, Feng Shan looked at her. In those majestic and inviolable eyes, a hint of killing intent appeared. Didn't you hear me tell you to shut up? From now on, if you say another word, you will be the one demoted first. At this moment, Feng Shan truly had the intention to kill Liu Fangxing. You must know, the war division now could barely offer me any help. Yet it still needed me to handle many matters, and invisibly added more restraints on me. I could very well leave the war division and live freely as a princess of the underground palace. But Xiaoguo's war division really couldn't do without me. Once I left the war division, the serious corps I used to lead would definitely fall into chaos. And now, with Xiaoguo being besieged by several countries, the nation would surely fall into peril. Precisely because of this, starting from a year ago, she had been wanting me to become the fourth Grand Chief of the war division. Unfortunately, I felt too comfortable and rejected her twice in a row. Today was the third time she shamelessly came over. She hoped that by supporting me, she could make me understand her attitude, and eventually agree to become Xiaoguo's fourth Grand Chief. But Liu Fangxing's foolishness made her propose demoting my rank. How could she not be furious? How could she not be angry? Hearing Feng Shan's words, Liu Fangxing was completely stunned. She didn't understand why Feng Shan asked her to shut up. Even less did she understand why, even after I openly declared wanting to leave the war division, Feng Shan not only didn't kick me out directly, but instead told her to shut up. What logic was this? What exactly was Feng Shan thinking? Before Liu Fangxing could figure it out, Feng Shan suddenly looked at me. The face that had just been extremely stern now showed a trace of embarrassment, but the words she spoke fell like a thunderclap on Liu Fangxing and everyone present, leaving their mind blank. Their minds went completely blank. Feng Shan continued, Jiu Cheng. Liu Tonglin was confused. I'm bringing her to apologize to you, and also, to show how strongly I oppose her suggestion, I am promoting you one rank higher. Starting today, you are the fourth Grand Chief of the war division. As soon as the words fell, everyone was struck like by lightning. They even thought they were hallucinating. The fourth Grand Chief, the current three Grand Chiefs of Xiaoguo's war division, had all made enormous contributions to Xiaoguo. Looking throughout Xiaoguo's history, all previous Grand Chiefs were never appointed at my age. But now, Feng Shan had appointed me, not even 20 years old, as Grand Chief. Jiu stared blankly at me. She had thought she was the strong one coming to help me, a stubborn person. But in reality, I was not only the princess of the underground palace, who killed the senior commander of the division, but now had also become a Grand Chief. Jiu cursed inwardly. She had always been the best among her peers, but at this moment, she felt utterly insignificant. Compared to me, she was nothing but a failure. If she had known she would face all this, even if her grandfather had beaten her to death, she wouldn't have come. Lin Pfeifen was also completely stunned. Earlier, he hadn't clearly seen the badge I threw onto Liu Fangxing's face. He thought at most I was just a 2-star senior commander, but now Feng Shan said I was a Grand Chief. The fourth Grand Chief of Xiaoguo's war division, a person powerful enough to shake the Lin family 3 times over. Yet he had previously thought I was just a cheap woman. At the same time, Liu Fangxing also snapped out of her immense shock. He had just suggested demoting me to a mid-level commander, but Feng Shan had immediately promoted me to Grand Chief. Feng Shan was blatantly slapping her face. Liu Fangxing stiffly turned her head to look at me, her gaze full of unwillingness. She wondered why someone so young like me could sit in a position she would never even dare to dream of in her lifetime. After I became Grand Chief, unless I committed a grave crime like treason, no one would be able to pull me down from the position of Grand Chief. Thinking of this, Liu Fangxing couldn't care about Feng Shun's warning. She sincerely tried to persuade Feng Shun. Every Grand Chief of Xiaoguo represents not just the war division, but even the will of Xiaoguo itself. If other nations see that Xiaoguo has placed a 19-year-old boy in such a position, they will surely think Xiaoguo's war division is incompetent. It could even cause chaos within Xiaoguo. I hope, Grand Chief, you will not joke about such matters. Afraid of being interrupted by Feng Shun, Liu Fangxing rushed to finish her words in one breath. After hearing her, Feng Shun stared at Liu Fangxing, wishing she could sew her mouth shut, then chop her up and feed her to the dogs. If it hadn't been for Liu Fangxing today, inviting me to become Grand Chief would have been the perfect timing. She was confident I would have agreed to become the 4th Grand Chief, but such a great opportunity was ruined because of Liu Fangxing's stupidity. She understood my personality well, since I had refused verbally. There was no chance I would change my mind today, and this was already the 3rd time inviting me. As the saying goes, things should not happen more than 3 times. After today, it would be even harder for her to convince me. As long as I wasn't officially a Grand Chief, I could resign from the war division at any time. Feng Shun took a few deep breaths, suppressing the urge to kill Liu Fangxing. Then she suddenly looked at a war division member. She said coldly, starting today, Liu Fangxing will be demoted from senior commander to middle commander. From now on, there will be no more promotions for him. Liu Fangxing clenched her fists tightly. Grand Chief, I know that in your eyes I am nothing, but I have served in the war division for so many years. Even if I haven't made great achievements, I have at least worked hard. You really need to treat me like this. The reason for Jiyu Cheng. Feng Shun looked coldly at Liu Fangxing. Sheltering Liu Fangxing? It's because Xiaoguo has been too peaceful these years that you forgot the rules of battle. Just based on your attitude toward me and Commander Jiyu, I could punish you according to war division rules. Liu Fangxing's heart tightened. She gritted her teeth. She looked straight at Feng Shun and said, I accept any punishment, but I still want to know, how can a kid under 20 be qualified to sit in the position of Grand Chief? Feng Shun glanced at her. With your qualifications, you are not worthy of knowing. Liu Fangxing clenched her fist and was silent for a while. It was as if he was staking everything. Her gaze was determined. If the Grand Chief doesn't give me an explanation today, I would rather leave this rotten war division. Feng Shun said calmly, I'll grant your wish. She then turned and looked at a war division member. Bring up all the missions Jiyu Tongling has completed since joining the war division. The division member Yingxia took out a handheld display the size of a phone from his arm. He quickly operated it. 10 seconds later, the division member spoke. Grand Chief, the data is ready. Feng Shun said, show it to her. When Liu Fangxing looked at the first piece of information on the display, her pupils shrank. How is this possible? She looked at those seemingly impossible missions, all of which I had completed perfectly. The shock in her eyes grew deeper. By the end, her mind was completely blank. There was no way the Grand Chief's data could be false. She could hardly believe that I had actually achieved these miracles. Feng Shun coldly looked at Liu Fangxing and said, Now, do you still question my decision? Liu Fangxing shook her head, an overwhelming regret surging in her heart. She was not worthy of anything, because he thought his promotion would hurt the feelings of the old veterans. But compared to my achievements, those concerns were nothing. At this moment, she finally realized how outrageously wrong she was. And she also understood why Feng Shun was so angry. I continued to stay in the war division purely out of sentiment. Once I am completely disappointed, I could leave at any time. By then, it would cause irreparable damage to Xiaoguo's war division. Thinking about how, out of unwillingness, she suggested demoting me, Liu Fangxing wished she could slap herself. Feng Shun no longer looked at Liu Fangxing, but instead looked seriously at me and said, The position of Grand Chief will be kept for you. As long as you're willing, it's yours at any time. I smiled faintly, for once tinged with a bit of warmth. I've received news about my lover in the canyon. As for the Grand Chief position, I'll take it after I find her. Thinking of her, a sense of hope appeared in my eyes. Feng Shun was stunned by my words. Then a look of joy appeared on her face. Hearing my words meant that once I found my lover, I would accept becoming the Grand Chief. She believed that with my ability, as long as that person was alive, I would surely find her. In other words, It was only a matter of time before I agreed to become Grand Chief. It was only a question of sooner or later. Feng Chun felt the surprise came suddenly. She suppressed her excitement and asked me, "Is there any information about him?" I did not hide anything and said, "Possibly at the Ducheng Academy." Ducheng Academy? Feng Chun seemed to think of something and quickly said, "The principal of Ducheng Academy was sent by the War Division. He's about to retire. The successor hasn't been decided yet. Why don't you go and act as the interim principal for a few days? It would make things easier for you too." Although Feng Chun said it was for me to act as principal, with my status, being a principal was too low, but now I could set my own time. Feng Chun's arrangement was thoughtful. I smiled lightly, "All right, but don't reveal my identity to the public. Also, prepare an admission notice for me from the academy. Unsealing the new badge I got from the Li family might require cooperation from the academy's high-level members. Being the acting principal would make things easier. But if you want to find my baby, it's better to do it as a student." Jiang Siki asked, "Princess, do you want to enter the Dungeon Academy as a student?" I asked her, "Is there a problem?" Jiang Siki quickly shook her head. Her expression was complicated but said, "No problem." 3 days ago, she received a notification. She would be in charge of the new student military training in 10 days. In other words, among the freshmen she was going to train was her own princess. This was no different from sending her to die. Feng Sheng didn't notice the change in Jiang Siki's expression. She directly nodded, "Okay, I will have someone deliver it to you." After saying that, she instructed her people to send Liu Zian and the others to the Yun City prison. Then she left. Shortly after they left, the display screen on Deakin's arm flickered twice. She lowered her head and looked, then looked up seriously at me and said, "Boss, incoming message. Yun City's Chun family has discovered your beloved's trace." I immediately ordered to head to the Chun family. The youngest daughter, Chun Wanner, had always been a joke, but her personality suddenly changed recently, and it matches the characteristics you provided. This is a photo of Chun Wanner. Take a look. Deachin placed the phone in front of me. The girl in the photo looked about 20 years old. Her skin was delicate, and she was as exquisite as a porcelain doll. Her aura was impeccably pure. I immediately tensed up because the girl's features in the photo were quite similar to my baby from my past life. I took a deep breath. After calming down, I looked at Disha and said, "Check the Chun family's location. We'll head there now." Meanwhile, my mother was sitting at the Xingqi bank counter. The bank staff behind the counter, who was initially nonchalant, widened his eyes. The computer screen showed the balance on the card. 123 quadrillion for 159 trillion 788 billion. He stared at those digits, his breathing becoming rapid. He had worked at the bank for 3 years and had never seen so much money. He took a deep breath, trying to calm himself. Then he carefully observed my mother. She didn't look the slightest bit like a wealthy person. Greed rose in his eyes. 1 billion. Even if he took just a tenth of it, it would last him a lifetime. He quickly suppressed his excitement and coldly questioned my mother, "Where did you get this card?" My mother quickly replied, "My son gave it to me." Upon hearing her answer, the clerk's expression turned even colder. "How old is your son? What does he do?" My mother frowned. "What does that have to do with me withdrawing money?" The clerk's face grew even colder upon hearing that. "Today, you must clearly explain the origin of this card." Nearby, the bank receptionist who welcomed my mother seemed to suddenly realize something upon hearing this. She quickly gave the clerk an inquiring look. The clerk gave her a slight nod and then showed her a 10-hand gesture. The receptionist gasped sharply, her expression turning grim as she looked at my mother. She demanded, "Tell us where this card came from. Is it yours or your son's? Did you find it or steal it?" Feeling their aggressive pressure, my mother reached out to grab the bank card from the reader. "I just came to withdraw money." "You're treating me like a criminal. I don't want to withdraw anymore." Seeing this, the receptionist quickly reached out and snatched the card away. "This card has an unclear origin. I bet you or your son stole it. Come with us to the station. 10 minutes away from the Chun family." I received a phone call. My mother had been taken to the inspection bureau. The air around me grew colder. I didn't hesitate. I headed straight for the Yun City Inspection Bureau. Inside the holding room at the Yun City Bureau, my mother sat handcuffed at the interrogation table. 3 people stood opposite her: the receptionist, the bank clerk, and a middle-aged fat woman. Deputy Director Wang of the Yun City Inspection Bureau. Deputy Director Wang slapped a piece of paper in front of my mother and said coldly, "The confession has been prepared for you. Sign it." My mother looked at them. Forced to come here and now being forced to confess. This card wasn't stolen. Deputy Director Wang sneered at my mother. If it wasn't stolen. Do you know how much money is in this card? Look at your shabby clothes. You can't possibly be rich. And as for your son, he was in Yun City prison. He was just released yesterday. And you're saying he gave you this card? Even if he had immense skills, how could he have obtained 10 billion while in prison? Mother looked at her, full of disbelief. 10 billion. It felt like a bomb had exploded in her mind. There were actually 10 billion in that card. The receptionist coldly looked at my mother and said, "As long as you admit you stole this card from our bank and handed over as stolen property, we won't go after your son." Deputy Director Wang nodded. "As long as you sign the confession, in light of your cooperation, we will show leniency. Otherwise, you won't have a good end, and your son will surely die. Choose whether to confess and get a reduced sentence, or refuse and doom your son." Mother asked, "On what grounds do you conclude this card was stolen?" Although she didn't know how I got so much money, she firmly believed that I hadn't stolen it. And my mother wasn't stupid. If I could steal 10 billion, how could I still be free and unharmed? If Qingyun Bank had lost 10 billion, how could there not be any news about it? Deputy Director Wang glared coldly at my mother and warned, "I'll give you 1 minute. If you don't sign, I will immediately have your son brought here. Then both of you will die." My mother firmly said, "This money was not stolen by my son. You have no evidence and are arresting people randomly. I want to see your superior." Deputy Director Wang laughed angrily. "Poor wretch. What right do you have to see my superior? You want evidence? I'll give it to you," she said, as she stepped in front of my mother. She forcefully grabbed her wrist. My mother struggled. "What are you doing? You want evidence, right? I'll give you evidence right now." Then Deputy Director Wang pried open her hand and forcefully pressed her index finger onto the ink pad. A sinister smile appeared on her face. She tried to press her fingerprint onto the confession paper, just as her finger was about to touch the paper. The door to the holding room was kicked open. Everyone in the room turned toward the door. There stood me, Zhou Shen, cold enough to freeze the air. I slowly walked into the room. Seeing Deputy Director Wang's actions against my mother, my entire aura dropped to freezing point. My mother called out, "Ah-chun." Her voice wasn't loud, but it was enough for all 3 to hear clearly. Deputy Director Wang snapped out of her shock. She slowly put away the confession paper. Then she shouted towards the door, "Guards, take this man down." Outside the holding room, the inspectors who had been kicked out by me struggled to get up. One of them drew a weapon and aimed it at my head. The other pulled out electric batons and surrounded me. I didn't even glance at the inspectors. I only stared at Deputy Director Wang. "You arrested my mother?" Deputy Director Wang sneered. "I didn't just arrest her. You're involved too. You both are suspected of stealing a huge sum. If you know what's good for you, surrender immediately. Otherwise, I have the right to kill you on the spot." She looked at me, her eyes flashing with excitement, thinking her luck was incredible. She could solve everything at once and then embezzle the 10 billion. The receptionist and the bank clerk also looked at me excitedly, as if killing me and my mother would make the 10 billion theirs. Thinking of this, the receptionist stepped forward and sneered at me. "I heard you just got out of prison and already stole a huge amount of money. A dog can't stop eating shit. Scum like you should just be shot." The bank clerk nodded, and the inspector aiming the weapon at me said, "What are you waiting for? A criminal who reoffends right after getting out of prison. Do we still need to show mercy? Shoot him immediately." My mother struggled violently, shouting, "Let him go. Even if I die, I won't let you touch my son. Her child was her bottom line. If anyone dared hurt her child, she would fight to the death with them. However, after just a few struggles, someone grabbed her arm. Mother froze. I said, "Don't worry. Nothing will happen." Deputy Director Wang heard this and looked at me with disdain. The bank clerk and the receptionist looked at me too, their faces full of mockery. At this moment, the 4 inspectors holding electric batons seized the opportunity, swinging them hard at my body. But just as they were about to touch me, the sound of silver needles tearing through the air rang out. In the next moment, their bodies went limp and collapsed to the ground. Deputy Director Wang and the others instantly froze. The receptionist gasped, "How is that possible?" Deputy Director Wang pulled a weapon from her waist and aimed it at my head, pulling the trigger without hesitation. The sound of the bullet firing and being deflected came almost simultaneously. Then a scream erupted from Deputy Director Wang. The bullet had bounced back, piercing through her knee. The bank clerk and the receptionist were stunned. I coldly looked at the writhing Deputy Director Wang and slowly walked up to her, then stomped on her hand, feeling like her fingers were about to break under my foot. Deputy Director Wang widened her eyes, her voice trembling. "You dare assault an inspector? Are you courting death?" I curled my lips into a smile and suddenly pressed down harder. Several cracking sounds were heard. The sound of fingers breaking echoed loudly in the otherwise silent room. 10 fingers are connected to the heart. Deputy Director Wang's scream was 10 times louder than before. She was in so much pain she nearly fainted. The bank clerk and receptionist gasped sharply. They both looked at my mother, their faces filled with disbelief. They had thought she was just an ordinary woman. It had never occurred to them that she had such a terrifying son. In their minds, they couldn't believe someone like that could exist. The receptionist muttered, "Could they really be mother and son?" I raised my head and looked at them. They both shivered slightly. The receptionist stammered, "I warn you. This is the inspection bureau. Don't do anything rash." The bank clerk quickly nodded, "Yes, yes. As long as you don't hurt us, we can testify for you." It was Deputy Wang's fault. She fell and hurt herself accidentally, I sneered. But before I could speak, Lisa hurried into the holding room. "Boss." Following behind Lisa was Director Zhang, the one who had previously appeared at Gu's hospital to support Liu Xiao. The receptionist and the bank clerk saw Director Zhang as if they had seen a savior. Relief and joy flooded their faces. The receptionist cried out to Director Zhang, "Director Zhang." He attacked the inspectors. "Hurry and subdue him." Director Zhang's breathing tightened. I looked at Disha, coldly ordering, "Because they injured my mother's hand, cripple both their hands." The receptionist and the bank clerk widened their eyes. They never expected that even with Director Zhang here, I would still dare to act against them. "You should know." The waitress looked at the approaching Disha, panic rising. She panicked and said, "You dare? This is the inspector office. Chief Zhang is right here." But before she could finish her words, intense pain suddenly surged through her hands. At the same time, the front desk clerk also heard the sound of bones breaking in her wrist. Chief Zhang didn't even look at them. He nervously walked over to the stunned mother and quickly unlocked the interrogation handcuffs. He lowered his posture and said, "Are you okay?" I smiled. "I'm fine. Sorry for scaring you." Mother shook her head. "I'm fine." Deputy Chief Wang saw Chief Zhang's actions and shouted sharply, "Chief Zhang, you can't just let him go like that." I lowered my head and glanced at Deputy Chief Wang, then slowly raised my foot toward her. With one hand came another loud bone-breaking sound. This time, Deputy Chief Wang fainted from the pain. I looked at my mother. "Mom, how do you want to handle them?" Mother came back to her senses. She quickly asked, "Ah-chun, they said you gave me 10 billion in the tower. Is it true?" I nodded. Use it first. Tell me when it runs out. I'll transfer more to you." Worry filled my mother's face. "Ah-chun, where did you get so much money?" I gave a faint smile. "It's all legal money. Spend it freely. There won't be any problems." Mother asked again, full of concern. "How did you earn so much money? Is it dangerous?" I was a bit surprised to hear that. I thought she was worried the money wasn't clean. But she was worried about my safety. Looking into her eyes, my heart warmed. "Don't worry. There's hardly anyone in the entire Xia kingdom who can beat me. Chief Jiang was startled by my arrogant words. He knew that since I came from that place, my strength should be very high, but he didn't expect I'd speak so boastfully. But he believed that what I said was true. Immediately, his gaze toward me became even more respectful. I turned to him. These 3 people just tried to kill me. I'll leave how to deal with them to you. Don't let me down. Director Zhang quickly nodded, yes, yes. Wang's father knowingly broke the law. Treat him accordingly. The other 2 are accomplices. At best, they'll spend the rest of their lives in prison. I nodded. I took my mother out and sent her back to the hospital, and instructed Di Sha to take good care of her. Just as I was about to head to the Chun family again, I suddenly received news that the Chun family was hosting a banquet at the Global Century Hotel. When I arrived at the hotel entrance, I had just gotten to the door when a delicate-looking young man suddenly stopped before entering the hotel. Jiu Chun. I raised an eyebrow. Liu Zhuan, the original host, was timid and insecure, and had poor relationships in middle school. Liu Zhuan was once unintentionally saved by the original host. He considered him a lifesaver, and was his only friend. Liu Zhuan walked up to me and asked worriedly, Jiu Chun, I waited all day yesterday outside Yun City Prison for you, but you never came. Then I went to the Li family's house, but couldn't even get through the gate. Are you okay? Seeing the genuine worry on Liu Zhuan's face, I softened a bit. I'm fine. Liu Zhuan let out a sigh of relief. He glanced at the hotel in front of us and said, I heard the Chun family booked the whole hotel today. Are you here for the banquet too? I replied, You too? Liu Zhuan nodded. For people like us, our only way out is getting into an academy. But the academy I got into wasn't ideal. At tonight's banquet, Senior Chun Wanner will be selecting talents to recommend to the mid-tier academy in the underground city. My mom pulled every string she could to get an invitation. She wants me to go in and try my luck. After speaking, Liu Zhuan took out an invitation from his pocket. To get this invitation, my family spent a full 100,000 yuan. Jiu Chun, what level is your invitation? Can I take a look? The ground staff added me to the list of invited guests. I can get in without an invitation. Liu Zhuan suddenly asked me for the invitation, but I really didn't have one. I told him I didn't have an invitation, but I could still go in. Liu Zhuan anxiously responded, How is that possible? There are people checking at the entrance. If you don't have an invitation, you'll be thrown out. I'll call my mom right now to see if she can get another invitation. Just as Liu Zhuan was about to contact his mother, a girl's voice came from the side. I have an extra invitation. Mr. Jiu, if you don't mind, please accept it. Liu Zhuan looked up in surprise and was stunned to see a woman walking toward us. I also raised an eyebrow, even though I hadn't met this woman before. Her aura clearly showed she wasn't ordinary. The woman walked up to me and nervously said, Hello, Mr. Jiu. I am Zhao Wuwei, the branch manager of Xinchi Bank in Yun City. My name is Zhao Wuwei. Liu Zhuan looked at Zhao Wuwei in shock and awe. Xinchi Bank is undoubtedly the #1 bank in the world, and Zhao Wuwei, standing before us, became a branch manager at just 28 years old. She is the youngest among all branch managers, and holds a very high status in Yun City. Liu Zhuan never imagined such a big figure would stand in front of me and speak to me so humbly. Mr. Jiu, I apologize for not managing my staff properly, which caused trouble for you and your mother. I happen to have one extra invitation here. I hope it's useful to you. As she spoke, Zhao Wuwei took out the highest tier invitation and respectfully handed it to me with both hands. Looking closely, her hands were trembling slightly. Before she came, Director Zhang had given her some advice. At this moment, she only hoped I would accept her sincere apology and no longer hold her accountable. Otherwise, the fate of Liu Xiao and Liu Ziyan would be her warning sign. Liu Zhuan was stunned by what he saw. A high-ranking figure like Zhao Wuwei was actually apologizing to me so respectfully. The reason for the apology was still that an employee caused me some trouble? How could he not know? Xinchi Bank had such good customer service? I reached out and took the invitation, saying, What happened today has little to do with you. I'll accept the invitation. If you ever need my help, feel free to reach out. Zhao Wuwei quickly nodded. Yes, of course. Then I thank you in advance, Mr. Jiu. Liu Zhuan stared blankly at the relieved Zhao Wuwei, feeling like it was all surreal. Just yesterday, he was in a tough spot, and today he's become such an important figure. What is going on? Before Liu Zhuang could figure it out, I looked at him and said, "Let's go." After that, I entered the banquet hall of the hotel. A young man around 20 years old, wearing a slightly ill-fitting War Department uniform, was drawing attention from many girls. Someone said, "Your outfit is so unique." Lin Huayu smiled modestly, a proud but humble smile on his face. "It's nothing special, really, but it does have some history." Everyone looked curious at his words. Lin Huayu smiled and explained, "This outfit was brought back by my sister from the War Department. I heard it was worn by a legendary figure who became a senior commander before turning 20. As he finished speaking, a gasp of surprise came from the crowd. A senior commander before the age of 20. Is it the one who might become the 4th Grand Leader at any time? Lin Huayu was surprised. You know that important figure? Everyone's silence at Lin Huayu's words was as good as an admission. Gasps filled the air, and all eyes turned to Lin Huayu in shock. At that moment, Liu Zhuang and I entered the banquet hall. A student saw me and said, "Hey, look, his outfit looks just like Lin Huayu's." Everyone turned to look at me. Their expressions all changed. It was like an upgraded version of Lin Huayu's outfit. Lin Huayu's face fell. He had just finished boasting about how special his outfit was. Then someone appeared wearing an outfit very similar to his, but clearly a higher quality upgraded version. It completely embarrassed him in front of everyone. Suddenly someone recognized me. "Isn't he that guy from Gucheng who was imprisoned?" It really is him. He got out from Yun City's labor prison. But as an ex-convict, he shouldn't be allowed to attend this banquet, right? Everyone began whispering about me. Lin Huayu looked at me with disdain upon hearing that, then smiled and walked up to me. "Jiyu Chun, you got out of prison, why didn't you tell me?" He looked at me with pity. "I heard your family is having a hard time. If you had told me, I definitely would have treated you to a good meal. No need to sneak in here just to get a free meal. Is that outfit because you had no clothes to wear and had to bring it out from prison? Come on, I've got some clothes that fit better than that one." I glanced him up and down and said with a light laugh, "According to Xia country law, non-military personnel impersonating War Department uniforms can be sentenced to at least 3 years in prison. How many years would you like?" As I finished speaking, the whole room instantly fell into dead silence. Almost no one present knew that Xia country had such a law, but just because they didn't know, didn't mean it didn't exist. It made perfect sense that Xia country would have such a law. Soon, someone snapped out of the shock and hurriedly searched online. A few seconds later, someone exclaimed, "It's true. That law exists." Someone was sentenced to 3 years just last year. Everyone gasped in unison. They turned their stiff necks and looked at Lin Huayu, who now showed traces of fear. Lin Huayu came back to his senses, took a deep breath, and tried hard to calm down. He looked at me with a face full of grievance and resentment. "Jiyu Chun, I know you don't like me, but you don't have to curse me like that. Are you wishing for me to end up in prison like you? You're talking about wearing a military uniform, pretending to be a War Department officer to deceive others. But I just wore something my sister gave me. How does that break the law?" I looked at him calmly. "What's your sister's name who gave it to you?" Lin Huayu felt an inexplicable panic at my calm question. "My sister is a mid-level commander in the War Department. Her information is confidential. I can't tell you her name." I nodded. "She's based in Yun City, right? And her surname is Jiang. A mid-level commander like that wouldn't be hard to look up." Lin Huayu panicked even more and glanced toward a dark-skinned boy. The boy immediately stepped forward and questioned me. "You said why you wearing a War Department uniform is illegal. What about you? Why are you allowed to wear it? Why aren't you punished?" Everyone's attention shifted back to me. Under everyone's curious gazes, I curled my lips into a smile. My calm voice carried an air of dominance. "Who told you I'm not from the War Department?" Everyone froze. The dark-skinned boy suddenly shouted, "You just got out of prison 2 days ago. How could you be part of the War Department?" I raised an eyebrow. "Who told you people in prison can't join the War Department?" The dark-skinned boy's expression turned cold. "You trash, trying to fool idiots." Before he could finish his sentence, he let out a miserable scream. He was sent flying 3 or 4 meters away. His body slammed hard onto the ground. His eyes rolled back and he passed out. Everyone stared at me in shock. I withdrew my fist. Gasps echoed down the street. Lin Huayu's expression toward me completely changed, but he quickly snapped out of it. He ran over to the dark-skinned boy, worriedly asking Zhang Qian, "Are you okay?" No matter how much he shook him, Zhang Qian didn't respond. He looked up at me and said, "Zhang Qian just asked you a few questions. How could you hit him?" I looked at him calmly. "You should be glad you didn't curse at me. Otherwise, the one lying on the ground would be you." Lin Huayu suddenly realized I had truly changed. Changed to the point of scaring him. I turned and swept my gaze across the crowd. From now on, I don't want anyone saying anything insulting to me. Did you hear that? Everyone held their breath. The scene fell into silence. My tone grew colder. Did you not hear me? A few timid ones stammered, "We heard." The rest didn't respond. But no one dared utter a word in protest. Lin Huayu clenched his fists tightly. The loser he once nearly shoved into a toilet in middle school was now someone he didn't even dare talk back to. Just as Lin Huayu was about to explode with frustration, a cold and authoritative voice rang out. "What's going on?" Everyone turned to look. Upon seeing the approaching middle-aged woman, a few people respectfully greeted her, Manager Tsai. She was the hotel lobby manager. Lin Huayu's eyes lit up with excitement. He immediately said anxiously, "Manager Tsai, my friend was knocked unconscious. Is there a doctor who can help him?" Manager Kai's expression turned cold. "Who did it?" Lin Huayu looked at me, but quickly averted his eyes in fright. Manager Tsai looked at me and asked coldly, "Was it you?" I glanced at her and nodded. Yes, it was me. Seeing how calm and fearless I was, Manager Tsai narrowed her eyes. "You arrogant punk. Do you think this is a place where you can cause trouble?" She then turned to the guards and ordered, "Take this reckless fool down." I glanced at the dozen guards quickly closing in on me and kindly reminded her, "I'm here today to find someone. I don't want to ruin things or ruin you. Maybe you should ask the person in charge if they want to move against me." Manager Tsai sneered in disdain. "Why would I need to ask the boss before dealing with you? Who do you think you are?" Then she yelled at the guards, "What are you standing there for? Take him down." Everyone around showed gloating expressions. He was just someone causing trouble at the hotel. He had his legs broken just for causing trouble. And yet this loser not only hit someone, he even dared to speak arrogantly in front of Manager Tsai. If Manager Tsai lets him go, she might as well resign from her position as lobby manager. Lin Huayu watched me being surrounded, the corners of his mouth curling into a cold smile. He stared at me, as if imagining me kneeling and begging for mercy. Two of the bodyguards' hands were getting closer and closer, but just as they were about to touch me, a panicked shout came from the distance. "Stop right there." The two bodyguards froze instinctively at the order. Everyone turned toward the source of the voice. The hotel manager came running over at full speed. There was panic written all over his face. Manager Tsai hurried to greet him flatteringly. "Director Jiang, why are you here?" But the hotel manager didn't even glance at Manager Tsai. He stared at me, surrounded by bodyguards. His heart nearly stopped from fear. Suppressing his terror, he looked at Tsai Weiwei. "What happened?" Manager Tsai thought Jiang Shang was furious, so she smiled and said, "Director Jiang, this kid caused trouble in the hotel. Don't worry, I'll have his legs broken to make an example for our guest." Before she could finish her sentence, Jiang Shang raised his hand and slapped her hard. Manager Tsai was stunned. Everyone else was also dumbfounded. Before they could react, Jiang Shang walked nervously up to me. Another loud slap rang out. But this time, he slapped himself. Under everyone's shocked gaze, Jiang Shang bowed humbly and said, "Mr. Jiu, I failed to manage my subordinates properly. I'm sorry for the disturbance." Everyone was stunned into mental blankness by Jiang Shang's actions. Jiang Shang was the regional general manager of Global Century Hotel in Jiangsheng. Even the heads of elite families in Jiangsheng had to show him respect. Yet here he was, apologizing to me so humbly, just for mismanaging his staff and failing to personally welcome me. Everyone felt like they were dreaming. Lin Huayu saw Jiang Shang bow to me. The smile on his face froze. He hadn't come to his senses yet. Jiang Shang scolded Manager Tsai and the bodyguards. "Why are you still standing there? Hurry and apologize to Mr. Jiu. If you can't get Mr. Gu's forgiveness, Then get out of here. Manager Tsai and the bodyguards snapped out of their shock and quickly looked at me. Mr. Jiu, it was my lack of consideration. I offended you. Please be generous and forgive my mistake. Just this once. Although I didn't know why Jiangsheng was so afraid of me, he knew that if he didn't follow orders, he really would lose his job. The bodyguards also knelt down to beg for my forgiveness. I glanced indifferently at Manager Tsai and the bodyguards and said to Jiangsheng, enough. They were just doing their job fairly. If I really wanted to make it hard for them, their arms wouldn't still be attached to their bodies. Jiangsheng tensed up and quickly looked at Manager Tsai and the bodyguards. Quick, thank Mr. Jiu for sparing you. Manager Tsai and the bodyguards nodded at once. Thank you, Mr. Jiu, but although the bodyguards said so, there was disdain in their eyes. Jiangsheng noticed the look in the bodyguard's eyes and frowned. He gave me an apologetic smile. Mr. Jiu, I'm truly sorry for what happened earlier. Let me take you to your seat. I nodded. Under everyone's gaze, I followed Jiangsheng to the center seat at the very front. Just as I sat down, a hotel staff member ran over and whispered a few words into Jiangsheng's ear. Jiangsheng looked troubled as he turned to me. I looked at him calmly and said, if you have something to deal with, go handle it. Seeing me nod, Jiangsheng breathed a sigh of relief and said, it's a tricky matter. Thank you, Mr. Jiu, for your understanding. Then he turned to instruct Manager Tsai and the bodyguards. You must not neglect him. Only then did he leave the banquet hall. A song began playing around me. See Sheng. Didn't they say he just got out of trouble? Why is President Jiang being so polite to him? Who exactly is he? The way those people looked at me changed. But some people who knew me from middle school just sneered. Though because of Jiangsheng's warning, they didn't dare reveal my identity, as more and more people looked at me with suspicion. The deputy butler walked in from outside the hall. He glanced at everyone, and then frowned at me. Which family are you from? Everyone was stunned. The deputy butler is the chief steward of the Chun family. All household matters go through him. And now he asked this question. Could it be that I sneaked into the banquet? Everyone's faces changed. Before I could speak, Lin Huayu suddenly spoke up in a rush. Deputy butler, his name is Jiu Chun. He's from the Li family. Then he turned to a man in black. He even hit and knocked out my friend. Please find a doctor for emergency treatment. The deputy butler's face turned cold. He first ordered the Chun family to find a doctor. Then his icy gaze landed on me. The Chun family doesn't have anyone from the Li family. Someone sees this brat who snuck into the banquet. Over a dozen Chun family members stood up at once and approached me. The bodyguards looked at Manager Tsai. Manager Tsai hesitated, then shook her head at the bodyguards. This is the Chun family's banquet. If the Chun family wants him out, we have no reason to interfere. Seeing this, the bodyguards looked gleeful. Others in the banquet hall looked at me with mockery. So I was from a second-rate family. The Li and Chun families have always been at odds, and I still had the nerve to show up at a Chun family banquet. How shameless. He must be tempted by the admission qualification. A toad dreaming of eating swan meat. Lin Huayu watched the Chun family members approaching me and laughed. What an idiot. You really think just because Jiangsheng stands with you, you can squeeze into high society? Reality will show you, no matter how much you try, you're still from the Li family. You're only fit to be a pawn. You'll never become someone of high status, let alone qualify to receive a Chun family invitation. As the sarcasm on Lin Huayu's face grew stronger, I suddenly raised my hand. In the next moment, the highest tier black and gold invitation flew straight toward the deputy butler's face and hit him directly in the face, then slid down. Before the deputy butler could react, I said coldly, open your damn eyes and see what this is. As soon as I said that, the room fell into dead silence. Everyone stared at the invitation, completely dumbfounded. No one expected that I would dare slap the invitation on the deputy butler's face and even say something so bold. At that moment, everyone thought I was done for. The deputy butler represents the Chun family's dignity and pride. Now that I slapped his face, it was as good as slapping the Chun family's face. At the Chun family's banquet, no less. The best outcome I could hope for was being thrown out with broken legs. Lin Huayu stared at the stunned deputy butler. A strange smile appeared on his face. The butler came back to his senses, stiffly looked down at the invitation at his feet, then crouched down to pick it up. After reading it several times, his face grew darker and darker. A moment later, he looked up and asked, "Where did you get this invitation?" I replied calmly, "What you need to verify is whether this invitation is real. How I got it, is that any of your business?" A chorus of gasps came from around us. Everyone thought I had a death wish, but the deputy butler, enraged, snapped back, "Of course it's my business. Invitations are ranked by tier. With your status, even in your next life, you'd never be qualified to receive such a top-tier invitation." Everyone was stunned, because all the invitations were black and gold. Only the patterns were different. No one had noticed that mine was a different tier. Now everyone turned to the deputy butler's words. They looked at me again with different expressions. The deputy butler narrowed his eyes and coldly shouted, "Tell me how you got this invitation." But before I could respond, Lin Huayu suddenly shook her head and said with disappointment, "Jiu Chun, I thought that after being locked up in Yuncheng prison, you'd come out a better man. I didn't expect you to be even worse than before, even stealing invitations. You really disappoint me." At once, the crowd looked at me with even more disdain. How could trash like him possibly get one? So the invitation was stolen? A dog can't stop eating crap. If the invitation was stolen, the real guest can't get in. Won't the Chun family be in trouble? The deputy butler heard that last comment, and his heart tensed. Immediately he ordered coldly, "Seize him. If he dares resist, execute him on the spot." The Chun family guards responded in unison, and all attacked my most vulnerable spots. The bodyguards looked at me, not just gloating, but also a bit eager. They wanted to see me beg for mercy on my knees. After all, with Chun Wana rising like a phoenix, the family's status had soared. But the next moment, the sound of bones shattering and screams of agony rang through the banquet hall. 10 seconds later, over a dozen of the Chun family's strongmen were all on the floor, wailing in pain. Everyone froze, unable to believe what they were seeing. The smug smile on Lin Huayu's face turned into a look of horror. Even the nearby bodyguards shuddered with fear. At that moment, they no longer doubted what I'd said about breaking their arms, and were grateful Jiangsheng had shown up in time. Otherwise, the ones lying on the floor wouldn't be the Chun family. It would be them. When the bodyguards looked at me again, their eyes had changed from disdain to respect. It was the admiration for a true powerhouse. The deputy butler pointed at me, trembling as he said, "Do you have any idea how powerful the Chun family is? Not only did you steal the invitation, you even attacked members of the Chun family. That's a crime on top of a crime. I'm warning you, surrender immediately, or the Chun family will be your mortal enemy." Just as he finished speaking, a sharp, commanding voice cut through. "Since when does a servant make decisions for the Chun family? Do I need your permission to send out an invitation?" When the deputy butler heard Zhao Wui's voice, his face turned to fear. "President Zhao." Only then did the crowd come back to their senses after hearing the name, their eyes filled with disbelief. President Zhao was a dominant figure in Yuncheng. How could I possibly be connected to someone like him? Even Lin Huayu was stunned. She never imagined that not only Jiangsheng, but even Zhao Wuwei was on my side. At that moment, she realized I was far from being as simple as she thought. Zhao Wuwei stared at the deputy butler and coldly demanded, "Answer my question." She didn't expect that just running into an acquaintance at a banquet like this would lead to me being humiliated like this. The deputy butler took a deep breath and said humbly, "President Zhao, I'm sorry, I didn't know that the invitation was from you." Before the deputy butler could finish, Zhao Wuwei interrupted, "You didn't know, without any proof. You accused my friend of stealing the invitation and even had people attack him?" The deputy butler's breathing froze under the oppressive pressure of Zhao Wui's aura. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead. "President Zhao, I was in the wrong today. You can punish me however you see fit." Zhao Wuwei said nothing and turned to look at me. She respectfully asked, "Mr. Jiu, how do you think we should handle this?" I looked calmly at the deputy butler and said, "He tried to kill me." "President Zhao, how do you think it should be dealt with?" Zhao Wuwei understood and turned to look at the deputy butler. The deputy butler's body went limp, and he collapsed to the floor. He had no doubt that if the Chun family had found out he offended Zhao Wuwei, he would be killed without hesitation. and his head would be delivered to Zhao Wuwei as an apology. Terrified, the deputy butler immediately knelt before Zhao Wuwei. President Zhao, I know I was wrong. Please be magnanimous and forgive my mistake. Spare me, please. Zhao Wuwei frowned and took a step back, saying, I'm not the one you should be apologizing to. The deputy butler hesitated for a moment, then quickly knelt in front of me. Mr. Jiu, I am truly sorry. I handled today's matter poorly. Please forgive me this once.